Hey everyone, it's Dave.
Hey, it's Brandon.
You're listening to Davenports on Sports
on Davenport Sports Network.
It's Dave.
Hey, it's Brandon, guys.
Hey, thanks for joining us on our podcast.
Yeah, like us on Davenport Sports Network on Facebook. Share the shit out of stuff. All of our one fan that we have. That would be much appreciated.
Yeah, we're hoping to go big time and get 2. So that's our
goal. Yeah, we're hoping to make it plural. We're popping S's on the end.
Also, check us out on Twitter, Davenport_SN. We're doing polls every day and all kinds of stuff. Good stuff, so check us out. Today, we got a guy from our hometown, Brandon. One Mr. Neil Snyder, correct? That's how you pronounce your last name?
Are you asking me to verify my name?
Verify, yes. This is actually the government.
Holy shit. Neil Snyder. Class of 1996, Crawfordsville High School.
Oh, man.
There you go. West Main Street, Russell Avenue.
You weren't in a gang, were you?
No, I not at all.
Ah, well, that's no fun. So, Neil here, he does a great thing, actually, in this, wonderful town of Crawfordsville. He brought a great comedy scene to it. Would you like to kind of throw some info out there, Neil?
Plug stuff? I can do that. Neil Snyder Presents Comedy in Crawfordsville has been a thing for a little over 5 years now. No rhyme or reason to when we do shows. But you can find us on Facebook. Neil Snyder Presents Comedy in Crawfordsville. I also work with Mad Hatter shows. Which is kind of the larger scale stuff. We brought Jimmy Walker to Crawfordsville this summer. We're on Instagram at Mad Hatter Shows. We're on Twitter at Mad Hatter Shows. And we're on Facebook, Mad Hatter Shows. So the website there is mhshows.com. You can see future events we have coming up. For example, Gallagher starting out 2018. We've already got 6 dates verified with him. 6 dates there. And then we also have the group Asperger's Are Us. You may have seen the Netflix documentary. They're a sketch comedy group. They're joining us in March. I'm not sure I could announce it yet, but we'll have them eventually. So Creed Bratton from The Office will be performing, possibly in January, but definitely in 2018. So if you come out, there's some names you're going to recognize. The stuff in Crawfordsville, hit and miss. Sometimes it's local shows, sometimes it's charity stuff. Sometimes we get a big name there. So I had Steve Hostetter at the Barefoot Burger one time. We had that place absolutely packed. So you just never know what's going to happen. My next show in Crawfordsville is actually going to be January 6th. There's a benefit going on all day at the Eagles from 1 to 8 p.m. I'm not sure when I'll be there, but I'll be part of that doing comedy with a guest. And then the Comedy in Crawfordsville series also has what's called invasion shows, where we go to small towns and kind of take over the bar for a night. And we'll be in Terre Haute February 24th at Place Bar and Grill. That's the next date that I have that's confirmed. So a lot of different stuff going on, but we'd love to have you follow us on social media and see what's coming up and maybe come out to a show.
Yes, definitely. Yes. I mean, I'll say this. I remember about 4 years ago, I remember seeing you guys out at East Side when you guys were first really starting everything. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that room sucked.
What was that?
That room sucked. Well, the room was all open, so nobody wanted to come up to the actual stage. So you just had this massive. I mean, it was a Ponderosa at one point. So you just had this like massive area of openness, and you just kind of had to holler at people and hope that they responded. But I mean, that's part of it. We do the dive bars. We do, we do theaters. We do anything in between. So.
Yeah, that.
Okay, hold on. When you was talking about Jimmy Walker, you meant from the Dynamite guy from Good Times?
Yeah, we had him at my old high school gym, the Athena Center.
Holy shit.
We had him there, and yeah, you didn't know about it, and a lot of Crawfordsville apparently didn't know because it wasn't a huge turnout. We had like 120 people there,
Well,
which
to
is
be
why the
fair,
next big name didn't come to Crawfordsville.
Neil, to be fair, Brandon now lives in the state above us.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have heard about it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, you need to follow me on Facebook and get your shit together.
It sounds like it.
Why aren't you following him, Brandon?
Why don't I do that?
Why don't you do that? No, but that's cool. Like I said, it's cool to definitely see, you know what I mean, from kind of the smaller like walk-on shows, because you were doing some sort of what was that called? Some like championship tournament for comedians where people.
Yeah, it was called the Play-In. It was like an open
Yes.
mic tournament where we went different rounds, and the winner got on a pro show. It went. So we had things like Brothers Pizza and China Inn and Barefoot Burger and Eastside. I think we did one of the Elks. That was fun. We ended up having Downtown Bar, which actually was where the finals was, which is now the brewery in Crawfordsville. That was won by Malin Nevitt, who was a Wabash College student at the time. So, it's kind of the way that we've gotten people out is by being able to put locals on those shows as well. And started out, I was the comedy in Crawfordsville. I was the only comedian in Crawfordsville, and now there's like a dozen guys I can call for a show. So it's kind of cool how it took on a life of its own, and we got some other people in the community that were able to take a shot and see what they could do on stage too.
Well, Neil,
That's awesome.
Real quick, not to gloat or anything. All right, you said you were the only one really doing comedy in Crawfordsville. I was the only one doing comedy in Alamo. So,
Wow.
I take that, with high honor.
I think everything about Alamo is comedy. You just sit around and you just watch stray dogs and old guys on four-wheelers and open containers and trash blowing. Like it's comedy in and of itself.
Yes, it is. That's awesome. So,
hey Neil, I got a question.
Go ahead,
who was your favorite comedian growing up?
Favorite stand-up?
Yeah.
See, growing up, I didn't watch a ton of stand-up till I got HBO, like in junior high school. So I mean, growing up, like as a little kid, all I really saw was like Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby himself was on a lot of times. As soon as I had access to cable, I started liking the half-hour comedy hour folks. Eddie Griffin was one of my favorite early on. Wendy Liebman was one. Like Paul Rodriguez. Once I was able to start, seeing a wide variety of folks. And then once a young adult, probably 5 or 6 years before I started doing stand-up myself, I discovered sacredcow.com, the website. I don't even know if it still exists. But I discovered Bill Hicks and Doug Stanhope.
Two of the best.
Two of the best. And obviously George Carlin growing up was another big one when I was able to check him out. So those are some names that I would say that influenced me, or at least got me, interested in stand-up comedy.
Awesome.
Yes, that's pretty. So you weren't a Andrew Dice Clay fan then?
Well, I was raised like the oldest of 4 kids. That we kind of were sheltered a little bit, and Andrew Dice Clay was not like you couldn't have that on the TV. So
sure, I get you.
I was able to discover him after he was kind of big, and obviously he was a gimmick, and you got to respect somebody that gets that many fans, but that's it's not really my thing.
Yeah, you're not a
Sacred
gimmick.
Sacred Cow exists, by the way, still.
Does it still? See, I was watching, like, I had DirecTV that had a gazillion stations, and I had foot surgery, so I was just like watching TV all the time. And Trio had a documentary on Bill Hicks, and believe it or not, I did not know him when he was alive. Like, I didn't know he existed. So I watched that documentary, and I just found Sacred Cow and found the Hicks clips. That's where I discovered Joe Rogan as well. And then I started finding this back when the file sharing days, you get on Grokster and download stuff. And so I was downloading like live albums of Bill Hicks, like bootleg stuff, and then also his studio stuff. And he's clearly one of my favorites. If I had a Mount Rushmore of comedy, like it'd be Carlin Hicks, probably Richard Pryor. I don't know. Maybe Doug Stanhope is. He's my favorite active guy, I would say.
Sinbad.
I like Sinbad. So that's the thing is
He's not that bad.
A lot of people think that if you're into like really profane humor, or you're into dark humor, or you're into like that, you can't like the guys that are G-rated, and that's absolutely like I do a lot of G-rated stuff myself. I wish I had 45 minutes of that. I've got about 30 I like. But I like Jim Gaffigan now. I like Angela Johnson. Like there are some very clean comedians that I like. So yeah, Sinbad's great.
Yeah. I actually went to the Comedy Store about 3 months ago. Was able to go to the West Hollywood one. Got to see Chris D'Elia, one of my favorite new comics, and it was such a great experience to go in there.
Watching a really good live show, it's hard to beat it. I think the best live show I've ever seen was Lavelle Crawford at the Improv when it was in Louisville, and it was just a fabulous show. His opener was Tim Murray, a guy that's been on Comic View a lot, and they both just killed it. And Murray and I actually became friends afterwards, and I've put him, he did the China Inn. Believe it or not, this dude that's been on Comic View like 13 times did the China Inn in Crawfordsville. We had a venue for him downtown Danville, Illinois, and then I had another weekend I put him at Joker's Comedy Club when I was booking that. So it's kind of wild that you see these people and you like them, and I have the ability to sometimes book these folks now and work with them myself.
Yeah, that's how they earn their living. They're working comics, most of them. So I mean.
So
yeah, absolutely.
You were talking about booking like some comics you kind of never thought you'd book, I guess you'd say. Is there any that you're kind of is on your wish list?
Yeah.
I kind
of don't want to jinx myself.
No, I get you.
There's guys that and John Payne, I got to give a shout out to him. He's the other half of Mad Hatter Shows. You could say he is Mad Hatter Shows, meaning that he writes the contracts. He's the money guy for the most part. He's the guy that makes the shows happen, and then I'm kind of the bitch that fills in the blanks what he needs done. And I do a lot of work. I really do. I do a lot of marketing. I do a lot of street teaming. I host the shows. Sometimes I perform feature sets on them. A lot of the marketing. I do a lot of the press releases, social media, that kind of stuff. But John, I'm always throwing names at him. Gary Owen's one that's one of my favorite active comedians that we've been trying to get. Gilbert Gottfried and Tom Arnold have been on our list that we've been at times close to getting, and something falls through. People don't realize how much behind the scenes happens in just making a contract work.
Oh, I bet.
Sometimes it comes down to a few dollars, or how many meet and greets you're going to have, or if there's some type of incentive for attendance, or the rider stuff, or how many nights or how many shows. And you brought up Sinbad. Sinbad was actually somebody we tried to do a tag along show to when he was at Laugh Fest, and it just didn't work out money wise, but we were trying to do a one nighter before that. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're watching TV and you're like, hey, maybe we should get these folks, and sometimes you do get them. I remember before I ever watched the show Trailer Park Boys, John was like, have you ever heard of these guys? And I was like, I think I've seen it somewhere, but I've never watched the show. He's like, I guess they're drawn pretty well. And I watched an episode. I didn't really dig it, but he made it work, and we did the 2 shows, and the guys were great. And I was like, man, I'm not getting a lot of this. I got to watch the show more. I got to discover this, because the crowd's clearly like they're on a different level. There's a lot of in jokes and all this kind of stuff. It's like one of my favorite shows now. And working with them this year, then when I did 5 shows with Randy and Leahy, was just a fantastic experience. It was like a make-a-wish for me, being on tour with these guys. So, I've had a lot of really positive experiences, and it's really cool seeing these guys on TV and seeing them on Netflix and seeing them in movies. Some of these folks I've got stories about. So.
Oh, I bet. Now, you've done a lot of work with like former ex-wrestlers, correct? Or still current wrestlers, I guess you could say. But could you let us know, I mean, who all have you worked with?
As far as people that I have actually done comedy with, The only names are Jim Duggan and Raven. I did like 4 shows with Duggan and 4 with Raven now.
Is Duggan a cool dude? Like
Duggan, both guys are great. Duggan is a super good guy. So is his wife. A super great person. Had a lot of fun with him. He does like a scripted one-man show, like This Is Your Life type thing.
Gotcha.
And there's some funny parts of it, but he is very much like it's a presentation and he delivers it. You know, and he knows exactly where he's going to pause, and it's the same every night, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Raven would love to be a stand-up comedian, and he actually has a podcast that's it's called The Raven Effect. You can listen to that. So he actually writes material, and then he goes into a stretch where he tells road stories. And that portion kind of depends on the audience, whether it's good or not. If you get some diehard wrestling fans, that can be a ton of fun.
Sure.
If it's people that are just like, hey, I heard this guy was famous and I know who's opening, so I'm going to watch them. Then you get like, who's your favorite wrestler? What's your favorite movie? Like it's you know. And then he has he does the Q&A, the meet and greet, that kind of stuff too. So now I've actually, because I started doing some conventions and working with independent wrestling promotions, I've been able to interact with some other folks. And I don't know if I'm jinxing myself or, you know, I don't want to just name drop for the sake of name dropping.
Sure.
But I would say that a couple other names that you definitely know from pro wrestling that it's very possible we end up doing comedy events with in 2018. So I guess that's all I want to say at this point. But I've got some phone numbers in my phone with guys that 1990s and also 2000s. At least 3 that we may do some stuff with. Additionally, I've met Rob Van Dam and seen him perform. He does original material as well, and that's all he did on this show. He didn't do any like road stories. So it's just like these guys are used to holding a mic. they're used to having crowds. They're used to being the center of attention, and so it makes sense to transition into comedy. The jury's out on who likes who and what format's best. I guess I've met Mick Foley also and seen his show, and he does mainly stories. You know, and I've actually worked with Raven in a wrestling capacity as well. That's another cool thing is this year comedy's kind of taken me other places. It's not just been doing stand-up stuff. Like I said, I started going to conventions, and I've done some writing online with folks and social media interaction. You know, event planning for other type things. But we actually, when we had Raven in Seymour, that's a town like right by Columbus, Indiana.
Yeah.
And he did wrestling at a event for Emerge Wrestling. They had their downtown throwdown event this year, and kind of as a, you know, cross-promotional type thing. Some of the guys came to our event, including his opponents the next night, who as the storyline crashed the event, and there was an altercation that had a viral video that went around. And then the next night, I was the ring announcer for the main event, which involved Raven. So that was very cool. It's
dude,
like
that's awesome.
I'm playing stuff that like 750 people watched me announce. And when the heel team, the Bomb Shelter, when I quote unquote goofed up their intro, manager Jason C ripped that mic from me the same way Paul Heyman does when he wants to do his own announcement for Lesnar, and delivered that. And there's a DVD and YouTube evidence now of me, you know, as part of a wrestling event.
I got 2 questions. One, did you just compare yourself to Lesnar?
No. I would compare myself to the ring announcer in a Lesnar match. So I guess I compared myself to like Lillian Garcia or somebody. That's
but see, I can really see that. I can see that. And second, can we book a fight against me and Raven?
I guess it depends on how much money you've got, because that's kind of what it comes down to with these indie guys now. They're like, how much money you got? You know, like
I got $5. I mean, come on, that's like an eye poke.
That's not happening. But I know, like, I was at Days of the Dead, and they asked Al Snow, they're like, "What's your dream match? If you could wrestle anybody right now in the world, who would you wrestle?" And he's like, "Whoever brings the most money." Like, so,
well, yeah, I mean,
people forget
business.
this is a business. This is a business for a lot of folks. So, a lot of them aren't necessarily doing comedy because they've always wanted to be a comedian. But again, some of them are, and that's you can tell that in like Raven's personality. So, he's running jokes past me. It's funny too because he's kind of a goofy guy. He's like my size. This is the guy that used to wrestle in barbed wire and stuff. And you might not think he's that imposing necessarily until like you ruffle his feathers away. He gets a little bit irritated. I remember we pulled up to the Terre Haute Brewery, and there was a very small parallel parking spot left, and I was going to circle the block, and he wanted to stop there, and I was like, "Dude, I'm not a great parker." And he gives me a look like, I used to wrestle on barbed wire, right? And so the first time I'd probably parallel parked a car in a decade, and I've got like the instructor sitting next to me that's the former ECW world champion telling me when to cut the wheel. And I was like, "Oh my God." And we got in there, but holy shit, So it's funny because these are guys just like you and I, and they're, they've had ups and they've had downs, and they performed in, these are guys that they came up in the indies also, so, but this is the guy that used to wrestle in bingo halls and VFWs, but he's also the guy that's done WrestleMania. So,
that's awesome.
So yeah, he's a super cool guy, but it's funny because I'm able to name drop now a little bit, that I've done some of this stuff, but at the end of the day, like, I call him Scott, when we're talking, like,
really,
it's that's how he is in my phone, his real name. So it's just funny. I guess I don't get starstruck anymore so much because I meet so many of these folks now. But at the same time, there's that respect for them that, I grew up watching you, like,
yeah, I mean,
I know what you're capable of. You got squashed by Goldberg. You used to, you crucified the Sandman. Like, you did that stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's crazy.
I mean, because I watched, really hardcore during the whole Attitude Era and Monday Night Wars. And, I kind of watched both. Raven, he was kind of one of my favorites in the WCW. So, it was cool to kind of see him, like, in town. I had to go somewhere. I think I had to go out of town that weekend. I didn't get a chance to catch him, but definitely.
Let me brag on this, too. I got to brag on this because
brag
just
away.
like wrestling promotions, just like any type of business, there's other comedy groups, there's other independent promoters, and there was an outside guy that's been doing this for a long time that's got more money and resources and credits and names and all this, that decided that the night we had Raven at the Eagles, he was going to have another comedian at the Quality Inn in Crawfordsville.
Yes. I remember that. It was. Can I say who he had?
Yeah, you can. I don't
did he have that Screech dude?
Yeah, Screech was his
headliner.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And we outdrew their show by 150 people. So, I did have to brag on that night. So that was a fun thing, having 200 people in the Crawfordsville Eagles.
I'm glad you brought that
January.
up, Neil. I forgot about that. Well, it just shows that you've built in all seriousness, you built kind of a reputation around here. I mean, you haven't just brought in shit shows. You know what I mean? You're bringing in people. You're bringing in different types of comedy. And it seems like the community's really kind of backing it. So
yeah, I mean, we're kind of we're at a point where I've slowed the amount of shows in Crawfordsville because I did think we saturated a little bit.
Sure.
But I've got about 3 charity shows I'm wanting to do the first half of 2018, and would love to get back out at the Eagles. Would love to find another regular room. It's just a matter of, can you sustain a crowd?
Exactly.
I think the wave of people that were opening our shows and people got excited to come watch them. Once they've done that for a while, that's kind of died down. So I kind of need another influx of people and kind of need a new,
sure.
But we have certainly a core group of people that have come to multiple shows, repeat business, that would come watch us different places, and that's really cool to have 1,400 people that like the Comedy in Crawfordsville page.
Yes.
It's nice to be able to blast something out and people, hey, I want to bring a group. I mean, I've had that happen before where I think it was last Christmas. I had somebody that said, hey, I want to bring 20 of my friends to come to a show. Can you build around that?
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, you prepay the 20 tickets. We'll do this.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a Christmas show. You know what I mean? So like, and we ended up having like 50 people there. But that people, it's nice to be able to create something that groups of people come out to. You know that you made somebody's night because the product you created made everybody there happy, and that's why I do this.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, you had some dedicated people. A good friend of mine, he'd always be like, "Hey, they're doing comedy, downtown or whatever," and he'd always drag me along and everything. I don't want to use the word drag like he forced me to, but I was like, "Yeah, let's go." You know what I mean? So next time you come back to town, you have to give us a heads up. I'll definitely be there.
Absolutely.
You'd love to see you out there. You had a bunch of the bikers with you, right?
Yes. I could probably bring a bunch of the bikers. Because we were the first show you did out of the East Side, all me and my biker buddies, we all went out there and we partied and had a good time and listened to some great comedy. So
it's funny too, like the people, because I book a lot, there's a lot of cliques, there's a lot of brands.
Sure.
Where, like, what you're getting into. Like if you come to Indianapolis, I'm not going to name names. I don't want to put anybody down, but certain brands, that all you're going to get is the same type of comedy. It's going to be hipsters. It's going to be social justice, outrage culture, safe, saturated, generic, mainstream. Like there's going, what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that you're not going to have a 70-year-old conservative come on stage. You're not going to have an urban act come on stage. You're not going to have a sketch comedy, or you're not going to have, some type of variation. And I brought some very diverse performers to Crawfordsville. And Crawfordsville's actually responded well. I remember, I don't know if you were one of them in the crowd, but at Brothers Pizza Company, we had a bunch of bikers there for a gay headliner. Who was out on stage, right? Completely out of the closet, doing dirty sex jokes. And his closer involved fan fiction, gay erotica, Price is Right, involving Bob Barker and Drew Carey. And laughing at this dude. Like it was just like, because I was worried, I was like, you're gonna eat this guy alive. But they were laughing. It's funny, you know what I mean? I was like, good job, Crawford.
Yeah, we're not all hicks, okay?
we had Sweaty Hands Dave from Def Comedy Jam was the biggest Crash McLean's crowd we ever had. An urban comedian who was the only black guy in the room. So, it's just you just never know what's going to go over. And it's funny no matter what. But I've kind of taken those chances. I'm like, this guy, let's bring him to town.
Yeah, what's it going to hurt? I mean, but yeah, are you there, Neil? I think I lost you. Did we lose you?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
I hear him.
Okay. I thought I had lost you. My fault.
I think I bumped like the microphone button or something. I'm scared to hit anything because I don't want to disconnect.
I think we've lost him.
That sounded like it did.
Are you there? I think he hit the microphone. He did. The button's up. Your microphone is off. This is why we don't have comedians, Brandon.
I know, I tell you. Sinbad too, dude.
I can see Sinbad doing this.
I know.
Okay, the microphone is off. I think Neil's back.
Can you hear me?
I can hear. We lost you, Neil. We lost you in the deep web.
I just gave you like the secret of life too, and I'm not saying it again.
I fucking knew it, dude.
I knew it. We're gonna have to.
I know, dude.
The show's ruined. Thanks, Neil.
You got to have me back for that shit.
So, hey, you had mentioned when we were having a little conversation, you got to go to that Purdue IU football game.
Yeah. I'm doing this wrestling stuff. I'm doing the comedy stuff. I've got a day job. I've got my kids. I've got girl I see. I got all this stuff going on in my life, and team sports has kind of each year I pay less attention and less attention and less attention, but I still out of habit follow stuff, right? I still, so I'm not a fanatic any longer, but of course I knew that Purdue was god awful this year in the preseason, and they could go to a bowl, and I was off for Thanksgiving weekend, and I was like, let's go to the bucket game, which apparently a lot of other casual fans thought as well, because they, was it 52,000 people showed up?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. I was standing in line at halftime. They were out of hot dog buns in the entire arena. So he's like, you can get meat, but you're not getting a discount. So,
no, you can't get a discount on the meat.
You're eating the meat without a bun, but that's just how it was on Saturday.
So
it was weird, and it was a great time.
So Purdue's starting to. This is their first year of like serving beer. Did you have any of their Golden Brew or whatever it's called?
No, I like my beer a half step up from water. So I drank Michelob Ultra for $7, but I'm aware of the Purdue cans. But the craft beer, it's not my thing. I like I drink Miller High Life, and I drink. I kind of have a saying when I go out: if it ain't cider, it ain't for Snyder. So. I like the flavored stuff. I like the Angry Orchard and the Strongbow and the Original Sin and the Smith and Forge and that stuff.
So like Zima.
I don't like Zima. When Zima came back out, I bought it just because I wanted to finally buy it legally, and it wasn't very good. But because I was buying that back like in 11th grade at Dickerson's.
Oh God!
And the sweet old lady. They'd be like, you need some cigars with that? Like, it was just like I had a beard in junior year, and so I was like buying for other people. But no, not a Zima fan, but I like flavor. I like sweetness. A lot of craft beers just got to have like a grapefruit or a pale ale or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm having. I'm drinking a nice pale ale. I'm usually a PBR guy, so I keep it classy.
But I'm not trying to impress them. I'm like, if I'm impressing people with what I drink, how sad is that person's life? You know what I mean? Like that's, you like what you like. So
I guess my life's pretty sad then.
Thing like I don't care what you're drinking. Like I'm not going to be like, oh my God, he's having a Guinness that makes him morally superior or more cultured than a guy slamming Keystone Lights. Like I don't give a shit what you drink.
I know, and that's how it's gotten too. The fucking beer snobs. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, like I don't need to go out and pay $11.50 for a freaking 16-ounce beer. I can drink Miller High Life out of a bottle and have fun. So.
Well, speaking of beer, I think I need to grab me one, so I might have to leave you guys for a second.
Leave me this guy I don't even know who just like says, "Hey, I live in another state." Like that's.
Yep, that's right. The mitten.
The mitten. Is that what you just called it?
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Well, I'm not from there. I don't know.
Look at a map, bro. It looks like a mitten.
Okay. Well, I will. After the podcast, I will get on a map and look. That's
don't get on the map.
If you don't know what Michigan looks like, you should stop drinking right now. Like that's.
Well,
you remember first grade? Do you remember that map that they had in the front of the classroom? Like, you not look at it? Like that's.
Okay, I'm going to a map right now. Right now, I'm going to a map, and Michigan does not look like a mitten.
Yes, it does.
There is no way.
Not a glove. Not a glove with finger.
Yeah, but you gotta have the thumb, don't you?
Yeah.
Where's the thumb?
Map, then. You gotta look at a map, bro.
I'm looking. It's loading. We don't have
loading?
fiber.
What are you on?
We don't have fiber optic here in the big town of Crawfordsville.
You can just go to your maps and literally like zoom out.
Okay, it's not
that's
loading.
a mitten, dude.
Okay, I believe you. It's a mitten.
I'm gonna screenshot it. I'm gonna send it to you.
So, Neil, have you followed any like Purdue basketball or anything?
Well, because they lost to freaking Tennessee, we spent Thanksgiving night watching on ESPN3 on the computer versus actual TV. I watched them play Western Kentucky poorly,
And so it was the first time I'd seen the men's team this year. And we got a lot of talent, but we're not very tough. So that's my first. We're not real athletic, and we're not tough yet. So that's my critique of the team so far. I say we because like my dad, starting in like first grade, I went to like most of the home games, and then once I was an adult, I actually had men's and women's season tickets for a few seasons. Like I said, when I get into something, I get like balls deep into it, and that's kind of I'm into wrestling and conventions and comedy like that right now. But for a long time, it was college basketball, and Purdue was my team. And apparently, they're up by 1 at halftime in a game that has 45 total points. So kind of
and Louisville scored
a big team.
9-2 right out of the gates. It was looking bad, so that's good.
It's like watching a late February game with Wisconsin or something. Apparently, like that's what I picture anyway from the score. It's probably a physical game, and I don't know. I'd like there to be more of a cushion.
Just to clarify, Brenda did send me a picture of Michigan, and it kind of looks like a mitten. It's like an 80% mitten. I mean,
yeah, it's a mitten.
Florida's a cock. We're a mitten.
Well,
it's common knowledge.
What's Indiana?
The meth belt? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, most of the states don't look like body parts. It's just the ones that stick out on the top and bottom, I guess. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, who's your? How do I want to ask this? Who was your first big guest to have on? You know what I mean? Performer to come on.
With comedy in Crawfordsville?
Yeah.
2012, we did like 2 shows. Basically, it was supposed to be one show. Like I did some open mics, and like I realized after a while, like I was doing shows with the same people all the time and not much of a crowd. And I was like, this isn't really good. I'm gonna do a show in Crawfordsville. So we booked one show. But we had a couple more, and so like I had all of a sudden every month I had time to put people, and I had paid for a professional poster, and I had put pictures up from the first show, and like social media that spreads like crazy. So long about the 3rd or 4th show, there's people thinking I'm like a pro booker, like I've been doing this a while, and I remember it got buried in my inboxes. But I remember I was working the Angie's List, and I pulled this up one day, and I was like, holy shit, Dave Dugan had messaged me like 3 months before or 4 months before. The most appeared guest in Bob and Tom history was like, hey, I'd like to work with you. And so basically I knew a guy in Ohio that put him on a couple shows, and our first show we did, charging more than $2 or $3 at the door, was at the Iron Gate, which is now the Barefoot Burger, and it was myself and Dave Dugan. And I've probably worked with him, I don't know, 8 or 10 times since. So he's been on Arsenio, he's been on Comedy Central, he's done voiceover work you've probably seen on TV. Guy was kind of big in the 80s. That's when he got his first TV appearances. He was on Night Shift, I think, or one of those shows with Dick Clark. And still, like, people know him. He does Crackers every year, that kind of stuff. So he was the first guy with like TV credits that I booked. And then Crawfordsville, probably the biggest name that just regular comedy in Crawfordsville that we didn't involve Mad Hatter's shows. We had Mark Price a couple years ago, who was Skippy on the show Family Ties.
Really?
Holy shit.
So that was, and we booked him the same night as hunting season began. And so...
Oh, shit.
That's my bad. It wasn't a great draw. Sunday night of the Elks when people were out shooting deer, but it was fun. So as far as the stuff that I booked myself with my own budget, he's probably the biggest guy. As far as what Mad Hatter shows has done, I would say Louis Anderson, possibly the biggest name, or maybe Gallagher. I mean, that guy's 15 specials. people still know who he is. So,
Dude, didn't his brother like tour as him for a while?
Yeah, from what I understand, it was conditionally permissible, and then became not permissible to the point that a judge had to tell his brother he couldn't do his act anymore.
Yeah, I remember hearing about
We
that.
worked with the original Lito Gallagher. So yeah, those are probably the biggest names that we have had with Hatter shows also. Now I've as far as like when I worked for Jokers, I did a show with David Keckner, who's the guy from Krampus. That's one of my bigger ones. I worked with Tom Green last year.
Nice.
So yeah, it's I can do a little nipping, but it's it's all levels. We've done shows with just me and my buddies before, where I'm the most experienced guy on the lineup, and then I've worked with these other guys that are 70 plus years old, but they've just been performing for half a century, and it's very cool to be able to work with them as well.
Nice.
Yeah,
dude, David, were you walking around your house?
Yes, I was. I got a Bigfoot, and I got
No,
elephant
dude, no. I seen it. There was a video of it, dude.
A video?
Yeah, I just watched you walk around your house.
What?
You went to the bedroom.
Oh, look, yep. There's no. I ran to grab a beer, but
That's what I was doing.
Well, Neil's on.
I watched you, dude.
Neil is on camera. I see there. Yep, there's me. I'm on.
I put this shirt on.
You're on.
Don't worry. Don't worry. There is no. Yeah, let's. We can go to the audience won't see, but look, we're on video.
I'm keeping it. But yeah, this is gonna go R-rated quickly.
It might go X. We don't know yet.
Didn't know I was gonna have
to. So, to kind of wrap this up, Neil.
You get paid extra for.
What's that? I think we lost Neil again. Maybe. I think he hit his mic.
Did he fall?
Never. I'm still here.
No, he's here. He's here. He told us that life secret again.
No, I'm here. I'm looking. What's that?
So, I
think how to make Big Mac sauce this time.
Yeah, I do it. He's telling us all the secrets. I swear to God. So to kind of wrap this up, comedy in Crawfordsville, Mad Hatter shows. Where would you like to see it about in 10 years?
Oh hell, I guess I want to see myself alive in 10 years. That's I guess what's actually been pretty nice. Just a few of them. Like comedy to me has kind of. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years, but I wasn't supposed to do it beyond that first comedy in Crawfordsville show. That was supposed to be it. So it's really weird. Like it's really hard to predict where this is going because even just a year ago, Mad Hatter Shows was doing a show or two here or there. Like it was like we had Creed Bratton for 2 shows. We had Randy and Leahy for 2 shows. Then we booked Randy and Leahy for a whole week this year. So I guess part of me is like, hey, this is as good as it gets, and then part of me sees clubs closing all over the place, and knowing that the comedy club model is very much struggling now with being able to stream everything and just the business model only being open a day or two a week. And part of me thinks, hey, this could get big if the club model is smaller and it's less prevalent. Why couldn't Mad Hatter Shows be putting on multiple shows in the same night and putting on shows outside just the Midwest? Why couldn't we basically be like an agency is now? Places.
Sure.
And so I guess, I work for a for-profit college. Those may or may not stick around forever, depending on who gets into office. There's a lot of uncertainty. So, maybe I'm an event planner here in 10 years, and this is what I do to pay my bills. Right now, comedy is it's kind of the luxury of it being a hobby, but at some point we may have to make it bigger to be in business. So, it could be something where we're a brand name, and it's something where, in the mitten, Mad Hatter shows has 2 events that night, and we have Mad Hatter shows in the South at the same time. We have employees working for us, putting shows different places. I mean, I guess the sky's the limit, but right now it's me and another guy, like, having fun and booking 4-digit shows and having, a couple hundred to 500 or 600 people in a crowd. And maybe we're working with A-list talent and stadiums and shit in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I wish you guys all the best. You guys definitely bring out a good product. So, I mean, not a problem, buddy.
It's just
yes,
half
thank
an
you.
hour just dropping like, hey, here's some famous people that I know. That's kind of how this time. It's no, it is what it is.
Yeah, we want to get the names of the people you've worked with. You know what I mean? That you're not just some like schlum just throwing in random people. You're putting out good material, and I truly wish you the best. And like I said, hopefully you come back on our show. If you're not too big, that is.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm here. You didn't hear anything I said.
I started to lose you there, but no, yeah, I'd love to come back, and especially, like I said, we may have some other wrestlers, or who knows, we may have a pro athlete may decide that he wants to start doing comedy or whatever. Would love to, and maybe bring those folks on as well.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be awesome. We'd be in great gratitude towards you. So, all right, buddy. Well, hey, we'll get at you next time.
Yes, thank you.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, Neil. Hey, good luck, buddy.
Yes.
Hey, if I hit this red phone here, am I going to disconnect everything? Am I going to ruin the show?
No, you should just disconnect yourself.
All right, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on some
right.
Go smoke.
Thanks, Neil.
Yep, see ya.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, yeah, that was Neil Snyder. He had he puts out some good stuff.
That's awesome.
So, all right, well, let's get to some sports real quick. We're about 45 minutes in.
All right.
So, man, it's been a crazy week for the sports.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Purdue fans freaking out over the football coach a little bit.
Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, well, I mean, they said Tennessee's going after Brom. But it looks big, but then when you look at who else is the candidates, and you got Duke's coach, and then you got like an offensive coordinator or something at USC, Purdue's not on that fucking scale, so I don't know why they would worry too much, and why wouldn't he leave? Why wouldn't you leave for Tennessee? I would.
Yeah, I mean, I see why he would, but in the same sense, when he got hired on, he sat there and said he's going to build a team. You know what I mean? He is going to build a team to, run for a championship. And a year in, he's talking about, you know what I mean? He's not talking. Media is talking about him leaving.
Yeah, and he's not the only candidate. So, I mean...
No, he's not. But for it to even get kind of brought out that he might even be interested, I mean, that's... I think it looks bad on him. Because as a Tennessee fan, if I'm saying, well, he went from a lower school to Purdue, so say he comes to Tennessee, and let's just say he has a chance to go to Clemson or a USC or somebody, you know what I mean? Right. A bigger school than Tennessee. After a year, he's not going to abandon that school.
Well, if you're hit at Tennessee, you're kind of hit. In my book, you've hit the pinnacle, really, of college football. I mean, it's just like Brad Stevens at Butler. Do people hate him for being the head coach of the Boston Celtics? No.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
I just, where does his loyalty lie? He's only been there a year, and they're 6-6. Apparently, that's good now. So
yeah, because there's a huge hype. What it comes down to is, I did an article last week about the whole championship, bowl game, stuff like that.
Right.
They need the college NCAA as a whole. They can still have their bowl games and have them as these games, but to keep coaches from wanting to go from a Purdue to another school to win a title, it's going to give these Purdues, these IUs, these Iowas, a chance to go win a championship. But again, we're not on that committee, and it's what it is.
Right.
So, another real quick question for you. Crabtree and Talib.
Yeah.
That whole thing. I'm hearing, positive, negative things. What's your thoughts on it?
They have a history. For anybody that watches more than the stupid fucking team that the state they live in, if you actually watch football, you know that there's a history between those two guys. And it started 2 years ago when Talib snatched the chain off of his neck, and it could have gotten out of control. I will say that. Just watching it, it was a few punches away from being a complete malice at the palace situation.
Sure.
And then Marshawn Lynch, fucking the center of attention, he escorted Talib out a little bit because Talib had to go through the tunnel on the Raiders bench to leave. I don't know. It's down to 1 game suspension now instead of 2. But that kind of shit happens when you're in Oakland.
Oh yeah.
I guess, and that's why Tom Brady should have fucking been in Oakland and not Mexico City.
Exactly. The Raiders might have had a chance, maybe.
Yeah, it's a different atmosphere. It helps. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another quick NFL kind of tidbit I want to throw out. You got to see that Chuck Pagano press conference?
Yeah, I did.
Local media are kind of on the fence, 50-50. Some are loving it, he's at the end of the line. It's what it is. Others are bitching that, he should be worried about football. If Chuck's gone after the end of the year, I mean, that's my, I'm pretty sure that he is going to be gone. I'd be going out there and just being like, look.
Yeah, that was his playoffs. That was the press conference that they go back to in 5 years and show you why he's not the fucking coach anymore and shit, like they did Jim Mora. And it was kind of funny. I mean, it was just like a man slipping on the ice, ready for the ice to break, and he's just ready to fall through at this point.
Yes, it's a pretty sad state. And there's a couple people around here, again, local media. They're saying Luck probably is done altogether, no more.
What?
Yeah.
He's gonna at least try to play,
right? I mean, but I don't know. I mean, because you don't know what's going on. There's no hey, this is what's going on. So it's kind of like, what is going on? Is he done?
It would be nice, because I'm fucking sick of talking about the fucking asshole.
I know. I'm sorry I brought it up.
No, not that. I'm just saying. It's just like the fucking thing about the roof. You know it's a terrible season when you're talking about the roof. You're talking about a fucking idiot in the crowd, some douchebag for the Indianapolis Star or some shit, going, it sounded like he referred to the movie Groundhog with the question. And then he starts talking about the movie Groundhog, and the dude doesn't have a fucking clue what that movie is.
Exactly.
I'm like, what did you reference then? The actual Groundhog Day?
Maybe.
What the fuck?
Maybe. I don't know. Did he?
He apparently did, but the question sound that's what my mind goes to. I don't think Bill Murray's more famous than fucking Punxsutawney Phil.
Exactly.
That's where my mind goes.
Eagles still your number one team in the NFL?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's any doubt. Patriots are inching their way that direction. I think they're clear cut. The wild card's what I'm watching. It might be one of the best. It's one of the best in recent memories, that's for sure.
Yes. Yeah, it's turning out to be a pretty damn good season. I mean, from my aspect, I mean, Raiders, they're not doing good, but, it's what it is. But altogether, football in general is doing good.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the Raiders are playing the Giants next week.
Yes,
so, I mean,
and Manning's not playing.
Yeah, 210 games in a row he's been out there, and he's going to get benched. That's second all-time to Brett Favre, which is insane. I think it's the last time we've seen him take a snap with the Giants.
Yeah, I bet he's out of here. I mean, he's got to be. They're going to bench you.
Yeah. His contract's
the guy's won you 2 Super Bowls.
I know. He's going to be 37 early January. So, I mean, before Super Bowl, he's going to be 37. So the question is, does he play again? It's kind of obvious he's not going to play in New York.
Where do you think he's going to end up?
If he's smart, he'll end up standing next to his stupid ass brother in a Papa John's commercial.
but like we were texting earlier, he's going to retire playing. So he's got to go somewhere. Because New York probably ain't going to... I mean, I guess they could.
He can't go out like this.
There's no way.
But he can't go to Denver because he's going to play in his brother's shadow. And he can't go to fucking Indy and play in his brother's shadow.
Would Jacksonville be a good place? Because all around they got a pretty damn good team. But Bortles, you just don't know.
That's a fucking excellent fit.
I mean... The guys won 2 Super Bowls, correct? 2? Yeah.
Yep, both against the fucking Patriots.
Yes. Why not? I mean, the Jacksonville, they're playing some damn good ball.
That's a really good fit.
I know. You heard it here first. I'm calling it. Just like I did the Ravens.
No,
Eli Manning to Jacksonville.
I like it. I like it, for real.
I mean, because all the other teams, like Garoppolo, he's playing. I seen where he's going to be starting this Sunday.
He played a little bit. He threw his first touchdown pass last game.
Yeah, but he's actually the starter.
Going to start.
San Francisco, Cleveland. You think he's going to go to Cleveland? No. Jacksonville, probably his only chance to push for a run.
Yeah, and to be honest, those teams that won the Super Bowl, they were hot. The offense got hot, but they always had good defenses backing him up. And Jacksonville has a super fucking underrated defense.
Exactly. That's just a perfect fit.
I like that.
Bortles, he's 50-50, man. You don't know who you're going to get. I mean, some games he's playing some damn good ball, but other days it's like he's playing middle school.
Yeah, if you took him and put him on any other team, he's surrounded by talent. So, I mean, he should look pretty good. But if you put him...
I can take him to a Super Bowl.
Right. If he was playing in Indy right now, it would be a disaster.
Yes. No,
I agree 100%. Or Cincinnati or, insert horrible team, Jets, anybody like that, he would be struggling big time.
State of NBA, how you liking it?
I fell off with it the last couple years. I just would peek in on it, and I'm kind of back. I'm kind of back in full swing watching it. I'm enjoying it. There's a little bit of drama now. I like it with Irving I like it.
Pacers, which this will be posted Wednesday, obviously, but so tonight. You could say, playing Houston. You know, I like this Pacers team. I do.
I think they play Houston tomorrow night.
Yeah, Wednesday. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're going to be posting this Wednesday. See, you're ruining it, Brandon.
No, you
We
fucking
don't.
no, you fucking confused everyone.
Or did I? Did
Yeah.
I? Okay,
San Diego
Wednesday night.
Chargers.
They're they're playing Houston. I think this team. I mean, here's the thing. Last year, it seemed like with George, you kind of got you know what I mean? Like the team just didn't have a fight in them.
Right.
But the games I've gotten to watch this year, man, even if they're losing, they're fighting still. And I think that's what's drawn a lot of the Pacer fans around here, you know, to the stadium buying tickets. You know, they're fun to watch. It seems like.
Well, and
You know?
Oladipo's playing really well
Yeah.
because he set out one game with a bruised knee against, I think it was against Boston, or it was against a good team and they played like crap, but they hung in there, man.
You know, so he had an interview a couple days ago, and I guess they'd mentioned how players would be resting your LeBrons, you know, taking a rest and all that stuff. He pretty much said that only way he's resting if he's hurt. He goes, and if that's the case, throw a Band-Aid on it, and he's playing. That is kind of the drive that makes me want to turn on and watch a Pacer game.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
They're sixth in the East right now.
Yeah. I mean, they barely got into the 8th seed last year. So
They're improving. They're improving.
oh, without a doubt. You still picking Celtics Celtics Warriors for your NBA Finals?
I think so. Until Houston can knock them off in a 7-game series, I think
Houston's
it's
leading the West right now, aren't they?
about a game and a half.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, they haven't played Golden State yet this year, have they?
I don't think so. And there's
That'll be
62 games left in the season, so I mean,
Uh,
I think,
Oklahoma City. They come to town, Indianapolis. I think next week. Think Paul George is going to get a standing ovation?
no. But hey, he's averaging 20 points a game this year, so I mean, he's kind of turned around. He kind of had a shitty start to the season, but they're starting to gel a little bit now. I think that'll be a game to watch for sure. That's what I mean. There's a whole bunch of storylines now in the NBA. It's made it better.
Yeah, it's more than LeBron and Curry. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
it seemed like all last year is like, all right, let's just wait to the championship game.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. Just wait till the finals.
And you know, I'm no hardcore basketball fan by all means. I follow it, but it makes me want to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you don't know how. You knew like your Pacers or even your Wizards or you know anybody in the East, they're not going to get past LeBron. You know, and your Clippers and Trailblazers, stuff like that out west, they're not going to get past Golden State. So why watch? Just watch the finals.
right. And now the whole landscape's changed.
Yeah, it makes for good TV. So, all right. Well, you have anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, man. Well, thank you all for listening. Like I said, we had Neil Snyder on earlier. Comedy in Crawfordsville. Check them out. And we might have another guest next week. So
Yes.
once I confirm, I will post it on our Facebook and Twitter, and we'll go from there. So thank you all for joining, and talk to you next time.
Yep. Thanks, guys.